Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Nitan Bhajasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta.
One of the most important books about Srila Prabhupada. It's about Srila Prabhupada and his Leela of years of heartbreak and struggle in Juhu, Mumbai. No one else can write this book like His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, because he was there from the beginning to the culmination.
It's been such an honor to work with Guru Maharaj on his books, but it's also really been just a pure pleasure. I love doing it. Some of the aspects that I really especially love about Guru Maharaj as an author, one is his commitment to historical fact. When he is writing, he is also consulting with other devotees. It is not simply his experience of history. It is also an account of the history itself. These memoirs that have been coming out in recent years, they tell the history of ISKCON. They tell the history of the legacy of Srila Prabhupada. And Guru Maharaj is so intent on all his books being entirely factual, not speculative. It's something he really had in common with Mother Yamuna Devi, and they discussed how important it is, that these memoirs are telling the history of ISKCON, and his ISKCON will be remembered forevermore based on these accounts. So I just love how he double checks facts, how he gets information from different sources and then verifies them. So you know when you're reading his books, you're reading what actually happened, not just a subjective account. Not all books are like that. Not all devotee memoirs are like that. I know one author actually put a disclaimer at the beginning of his book Maybe the facts aren't exactly right, but this is how I experienced them. With Guru Maharaj, you know, these are the facts as they happened.
In September of 91, he became Giriraj Maharaj's secretary in Juhu, Bombay. And almost immediately he engaged me in researching material for his planned book on the history of Hare Krishna land. So I went through many interviews and interviewed many people, over 80 people and so many things. And then I typed everything on computer, and then I tried to classify the material or chronologically. And it took quite a lot of time because I was doing other security services also. And Maharaj himself was extremely busy, and he didn't really have much time to give to the book, especially because the material was not so well organized. But there was a breakthrough in 2015 when I visited Israel and met my godbrother, Rohini-nandana, who brilliantly organized all the material with the search engine, and that really helped Maharaj work on his book. So finally, by the end of the decade, we came up with the 800 pages manuscript, which I've been copy editing 8 times. And every time, the amazing thing is that every time I was going through the whole thing, my appreciation for the book grew and grew and grew to such an extent that I thought, boy, this is going to be the law book for ISKCON Juhu for the next 10,000 years.
I also just love working with Guru Maharaj in his commitment to keep improving his writing. And I would say each of his books has been a significant improvement over the previous one, in particular the writing of it, his means of expression, his means of recording. He never simply accepts a suggestion or a correction that I might have. Every time he wants to know what's the principle behind that. He wants to learn how to do it right. And as a result, I would say my service keeps getting easier and easier because he is already writing in that mode. He knows grammar and usage and conventions. He's learned them through his own writing, and he employs them incredibly well.
It took Srila Prabhupada almost 50 years before fulfilling the order of his Guru Maharaj to preach in the West. Similarly, almost 50 years have passed since Srila Prabhupada gave the instruction to write a book about the Juhu Leela, and you have been meditating on his instruction ever since, remembering so vividly every person, place, incident, and instruction. The writing of the Juhu story took longer than the building of the temple itself, and it seems that you had to muster up no less determination and faith in completing the book as when managing the building of the temple. The great number of documents from that period not only testify to the enormous complexities of the project, but also attest for the huge efforts needed to put all the many details into a fascinating, personal, and instructive tale in glorification of Srila Prabhupada. I think that this joyous moment of completing the book and sending it to print is no less blissful than the triumphs during the Juhu project. This book is not only about the Juhu story, it is part of the story itself.
They say that bhakti is all about attention to detail, even for the very little things. And during this process, Marj forces us to come to a higher level of consciousness in our service to Srila Prabhupada and to Lord Krishna. I'll Build You a Temple is a modern-day Mahabharata epic, a saga that will bring tears, joy, laughter, and so many different emotions as you read through the pages that describe the sheer strife, struggle, determination, and faith that Srila Prabhupada and his fledgling devotees underwent to build Sri Sri Radha Rasabihari, a most magnificent temple. I feel most privileged to have worked on this historic, monumental piece, which will serve as a guide to ISKCON devotees for centuries to come.
He is not a passive author who has his work edited. He's an active actor. He's actively involved in that. And he has a commitment to just keep improving, and I think he continually does. You can see this even in his spoken addresses. He has so internalized the principles of writing and language that even his talks and classes are naturally, organically focused and organized as he speaks them, as if they were already edited. I think it's amazing. I've never heard anyone like that. Any other speaker you see like that, they tend to be reading from a script. He is not reading from a script. This is coming all from inside. And sure enough, when we work afterwards on his talks, I would say from the last several years especially, there's very little editing to be done. They're just already so good.
Most of you may know, Srila Giriraj Swami does everything in his service to Srila Prabhupada with unparalleled excellence. So you can imagine the standards we had to strive for to assist him in his wonderful offering of the Juhu book. The Juhu book was not an easy task. It took years of research and compilation of material, dozens of interviews, at least 3 years of writing and rewriting many drafts, revising and editing, proofreading, and many other aspects of publication. But Guru Maharaj did it with such pleasure and enthusiasm, as he does anything for Srila Prabhupada, enlivening us to do the same. This book gives profound insights into Srila Prabhupada's mood and desires for Juhu and ISKCON, and I am sure it will be a guiding light for generations to come.
It must be very exciting to be so close to the completion of this huge labor of love. It's been a massive effort, and all of us who've assisted you know that you have spared no amount of care or effort or attention to make this offering to Srila Prabhupada as perfect as possible. One of the things that I took away from this story was the thought that all of the facilities that we enjoy today, the temples and schools and communities and online events, have all arisen from Srila Prabhupada's desire and through the monumental efforts of his surrendered disciples. Without him and without you all, none of this would exist. So we owe you a huge debt of gratitude for everything that you've done. And we're looking forward to seeing the book in print.
Sangsara davana loka pranaya karina ghana ghanatyam sapta sakalana gunarnavasya bande gurasri charanarabindam महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्य गीता बादित्रमाद्यन्मन सोरसेना